Dear Minister, very honored to be next to you. Very happy for me also to be in Romania. It's actually my first time in Romania, first time in Bucharest, and I've been enjoying it so far. And being able to have this conversation in this beautiful building, it's really a privilege. For the audience, my name is Maartje Schulz. I'm the Policy and Research Manager at the European Liberal Forum. We are a liberal think tank based in Brussels. Before we start our chat, I would like to give you one of our publications, actually. It's called Designing Europe's Future, AI as a Force for Good. So happy to give it to you. We're going to have a chat about artificial intelligence and the economy and AI for our societies. Maybe to start off this conversation, how would you say, where is the Romanian society at when it comes to AI development and digitalization? How would you rate it on a scale from, let's say, 0 to 10? And what then is needed to make further steps?
Thank you. First of all, thanks for the invitation and for your attention. Regarding Romanian society and the investments in digitalization and artificial intelligence, I would underline firstly one advantage Romania has regarding connectivity. So I think we have been in the first line of Europe's high-speed connections. And I would say also we are very high on expectations and on things we desire on digitalization and digitalized public services. If I were very honest, I think we are somewhere on the road. So I like to say after 20 years of some successes, but also some lateness in digitalization, that we should change a little bit the approach and accept that we will have a transition towards digitalization, not maybe a one-step transformation as we would all maybe desire. On the other side, regarding artificial intelligence, personally I feel like that things are moving so fast that we are almost all in a T0, in a 0 point, in a restarting point for the new technologies, and I hope that Romania will be together with other European countries in this contest, and that will move very fast. So I think we have a lot of will, but we need to change a bit the approaches.
And how would you say that you need to, as Romania, you need to change the approach? Like, is it a radical shift that you have in mind, or what would such a change in approach look like?
I think we should separate two worlds. At least is my take on things. We have a lot of public services, or we have a lot of institutions which are not yet digitalized as we would wish. And one approach is to, let's say, optimize a bit the way of working for public services and public institutions in order to be more digitalized. In my humble opinion, I think this process, as we have tried for almost 20 years, will take too much, and it will be too slow for the needs of today. That's why I think, additionally to this, we need one other approach where we start innovation from scratch. So I think we should try to identify maybe a minimum set of public services with the highest impact on the citizens and succeed to digitalize 100% using artificial intelligence this core of services.
Do you already have a couple of services in mind that you would like to tackle first in the public services?
Yes, for example, if I take the profile of my ministry, where we have together entrepreneurship, economy, and digitalization, I think one topic which is very important for SMEs, but also for big companies, also for foreign investors, is the way a company gets all the authorizations to function in Romania, and then all along the lifetime of of the company. So I would like that the interaction between companies and the state, almost no matter the kind of interaction, would be digitalized and will use artificial intelligence.
And how do you, because it will be, transformational, more things getting digital, it will also be hopefully then more efficient public services, more and more introduction of artificial intelligence, but how to make sure that everyone can kind of follow along, doesn't feel lost or overwhelmed with all of these changes. So how are you planning to prepare the Romanian citizens as well to work in this new way as well?
I think there are, or I would answer from 2 points of view. First of all, I think if we try to digitalize a public service and then we need to convince people to use it, there is something wrong already in the way it has been digitalized. So I think public services in a future world should be so attractive that the citizen won't look back, will use it directly. On the other side, of course, we need to strengthen education on digital competencies, on using artificial intelligence also in a safe way. So I think we should start to teach children, I would say, and then, of course, adolescents and youngsters to use new technologies in a safe way, as early in their lives as possible. So if we admit that the rhythm of innovation and the rhythm of new technologies is so fast, we should take into account to help our children and our youngsters adapt as soon as possible. And I think it should be formalized in the public schools.
Yeah, that's a very, very good point. And if you hear the word AI in your mind, is it for you, you think this is an opportunity, or does it come more to mind, there are also a lot of big risks around it? I'm just curious, what is kind of your attitude in general towards AI?
I think it's a huge opportunity, and it's an unavoidable opportunity. Then, of course, if the adoption of artificial intelligence in a formal and informal way were very fast, the security concerns would be higher and higher in an exponential way. But again, it's unavoidable. I'm sure of it. So it's just that, like in cybersecurity, as for today, we need to not forget about cybersecurity and to build competencies on how to use these technologies in a safe way. On the other side, regarding public institutions, I think we should assume to work with the best experts in the field, with big companies which provide artificial intelligence, and find solutions from the beginning to protect the data of the institutions. Because even employees in ministries, for example, are starting to use artificial intelligence. Sometimes they recognize it, sometimes they don't recognize it, but they are starting to use it, and not 100% in a safe way. So if we wait too much and we do not integrate some database for the data owned by the ministry or by the government or by the schools and so on, in some data centers which are owned by the state, we will have a problem. So we will have the advantages of using artificial intelligence, but we will also have big disadvantages regarding risks and data.
And you mentioned cybersecurity. I actually just heard from one of our experts that we brought along on this ELF delegation that Romania is quite strong in cybersecurity. Is it also kind of a goal of yours to have Romania being like a very leading nation in cybersecurity within Europe?
I would hope that we would be one of the leading countries in innovation. I would say broader. I don't know if it's very realistic today to set such a high goal to be champion in one field or one subdomain of innovation. But what I would like for Romania to do and for the whole European Union to do is to accelerate as much as possible, to remove barriers, fiscal barriers, bureaucratic barriers, and so on, in the way of innovation. Honestly speaking, as for today, we don't know where this could lead. So we should have high ambitions, we should become attractive for researchers and for engineers, for experts, even outside European Union, and then we should also encourage mobilization of capital for encouraging, for funding startups. And then I'm sure, in a way or another, we will be champions of digitalization and of innovation. We are not there yet.
Thank you. Yeah, and indeed, maybe shifting the conversation a bit from Romania to the broader Europe and AI strategy. If I look at what Europe has been doing, we've been quite focused on having the EU AI Act, like so regulating AI. Of course, we also have had Draghi's report on competitiveness, and it's very much clear, of course, also from this report that we are lagging behind on tech if you compare it, for example, to the US. So how do you think we have done the right approach up till now, or do you think in Europe we need to make some changes in the way we deal with AI to keep the talent here? So just wanted to hear your views on a broader European strategy for AI and tech.
As Draghi report says, and also other reports say, we have a gap. And I think in an accelerated world, it's very hard to fill the gap. And I think, yes, there are studies, there are specific measures of Europe also at the national level, but I think this is still not enough. So closing or recovering the competitiveness gap is not only about AI and technology, but it's very hard, a very hard to do thing. That's why, as I said, for Romanian institutions, I believe, you know, as in Leta's suggestions we found, I believe in, let's say, breaching the frontiers and accept what it is and maybe optimize a bit the current mechanisms, but try to create some ecosystems, sandboxes, maybe the 28th regime. So some ecosystems from the fiscal perspective, from the innovation perspective, from the bureaucracy perspective, from the funding perspective, where innovation could happen faster, where startups could appear and develop in a faster way. I feel and I read from such reports that if we are trying to do to apply almost the same mechanisms that we had until today, it will not be enough for the acceleration we need to close the competitiveness gap. So I would rather spend some more time and then take decisions at the Romanian level and at the international, the European Union level on how to create such ecosystems on totally different rules. I think we have, for the moment, we have more questions than answers, even at the European level, and we should move to the decision part. And how to say, I think we shouldn't be afraid to create such an ecosystem. There are some regulatory mechanisms today in European Union for sandboxes, but they are a bit niche, a bit reduced to some specific subdomains. I would say that, generally speaking, for innovation and new technologies and artificial intelligence, we should define a broader concept of sandbox, probably European sandbox, where startups would be really, really encouraged, or where startups wouldn't be, let's say, slowed.
I traveled last year for like 10 days on like a study tour to Silicon Valley and to San Francisco, and we met with a lot of tech entrepreneurs, but also policymakers. And I think also in terms of ecosystem, what I saw there, you have all the great like universities around there, and then you had the venture capital, you had the entrepreneurs, you had the engineers, and they were all kind of around the same area, working on the same goal. And I was thinking we probably should also have a bit more of these places in Europe. Do you agree with that?
Yes, this is one big question. What we would need to have in Europe in order for such engineers, such innovators to come to Europe. Because from a society perspective or welfare perspective, I think it's attractive to live in Europe. But why so many researchers and so many innovators choose to live outside Europe? And I really think that it's a bit about Romania also, that yes, we should have let's say regulatory ecosystems, but we should still have physical ecosystems. And we have in several places in Europe some technopoles which are functioning well, but I think we should have more. And I think we should try to have also in Romania one or two technopoles, because I like to say in Romania we have a lot of very good companies in the IT and C field, but usually they are around big cities. So it's just like an agglomeration of companies, but it's not an intentional, there are not intentional technopoles which are created. We are somewhere on the road. I see in big cities some initiatives for the companies to reunite, to try to attract funds together and so on. But I think we should try to create in Romania and in Europe more technopoles intentionally created with specific rules, and why not with sandboxes conditions.
Yeah, and then maybe another aspect is maybe we don't invent everything here in Europe, but maybe we can actually also strive then to be the best of adopting it, implementing it, using it in our workforce, and being the best at using AI. So how do you view that?
Yes, I like to say that if we don't use AI in the following, I don't know, 5 years, AI will use us in a way or another. So yes, it's a challenge in the following years for almost any employee to integrate AI in its own work. But I think it's a lot about continuous education and continuous learning, because one temptation with AI is to use it a bit like a search engine, and I think it's not enough. So we still need to learn and to educate continuously people how to use AI like agents, not only for searching information. And I think it's a long run, and as you know, continuous education is a bit more difficult to implement that initial education. That's why I insisted before that first of all we should find ways to learn children and youngsters to use AI, and then maybe extrapolate a bit towards continuous education.
Well, Minister, thank you very much. It's been a real pleasure. There's lots of work to do and steps to take, but it seems like you have a positive and ambitious agenda and mindset, which we share as well at the European Liberal Forum. So thank you very much for this chat.
Thank you for this opportunity. Thank you for your involvement, and I will study this book you gave me. Thank you.
Thank you.